I'm gonna go ahead and call our special meeting to order
Got
for
some water.
Monday, September 26th. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
That's okay.
Director James Fairman,
Present.
Assistant Secretary Arlene Schaefer,
Here.
Secretary Robert Wooten,
Here.
Vice President Arthur Perry,
Here.
and President Michael Schaefer.
Here. Okay, first item on the agenda, public comments. Mr. Mosher, you've indicated a wish to speak into this item.
I'm just getting some water.
Yeah, thank you, President Schaefer and members of the board. My name is Jim Mosher. I want to begin by saying I'm not actually sure that comments on general non-agenda items are actually supposed to be happening at a special meeting. But since you've offered the opportunity, I'm going to avail myself of it. I have a couple of comments I want to make. The first one is a positive comment looking forward the agenda for this morning's meeting on the new board docs system. I was pleased to see that if you go back to the previous meeting that you held last Thursday, it already has a pendant within it, logically, in the agenda, the actual actions you took, what votes you took, what the outcome of various items were, without having to wait a month to see the minutes from that meeting or going to look at the video. I thought that was very useful. I think it might still need some fine-tuning, though, with respect to the ISDOC issue that you had. It just says that you directed President Schaefer to vote on behalf of the board. And I think those curious in looking at the video would discover you actually deliberated and picked a particular slate of candidates that you were endorsing. So perhaps that should have been indicated as being the action. And then now realizing I'm going to offend all of you, I want to speak about the gift of $2,500 to Vanguard University, which is also reported there as an action. I feel that was wrong for a number of reasons, which I unfortunately was not here last Thursday to articulate clearly. The ostensible reason for this was to encourage a holiday fat and oil diversion message to the ratepayers of the district. I think the $2,500 could have been used much more effectively on a series of public service ads in the Daily Pilot, perhaps an announcement in the newsletter of that college and the other schools that are in the district. I think that would have been more effective, and perhaps using the money on buying and distributing more of the fog funnels that we used to have available in the lobby here. In my view, the actual $2,500 was primarily for the purchase of 6 tickets for an event at the Segerstrom Center, and to support the music program at Vanguard University, and to subsidize their 2 performances, one of which is at Segerstrom, one is which is at St. Andrew's Church. Regarding that, if the district feels that supporting performing arts is a useful and proper use of ratepayer money, I would suggest that there's a whole host of other deserving performing arts programs that should have been given equal consideration, including Orange Coast College, which is another college within the district, and our public schools. And then finally, which is really going to offend you, I am going to say that even if 99.9% of the ratepayers thought that that whole universe of possible programs, the proper one to support is Vanguard University, because it advances, as it says on your website, their Christian values, which may be the values of 99.9% of the ratepayers. The California Constitution that you all swore to uphold, both the appointed and elected officials, clearly prohibits that use and protects the 0.1% from public funds being used to support advancing a particular religious faith. And I think the district council did not convey that message of where the money was going and the California constitutional aspect of that to you, which he probably doesn't want to offend you and get fired, but I think the message needs to be made. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else from the public wishing to speak at this moment? All right, seeing no one, we'll move to discussion item D, citizen survey presented.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. I'm going to turn this over to Elizabeth here in a second, but just give the board and the public a brief overview. So this is a citizen survey, kind of a follow-up of a survey we did in 2012. So we thought this was budgeted in 2015, so we have a budget for some time to do another survey to engage our residents on the level of services that we provide. both administratively, along with the trash services and the sewer services. The board decided to hold off on doing the survey until the organics recycling program was implemented longer, so we can get some feedback from those participating in the event. I'm going to have Elizabeth kind of go over how we went over the RFP process, how we selected the consultant, which is Pawlowski Research, which we used in 2012 as well. And then you have in your packet a list of questions to consider and discuss. These questions weren't etched in stone. They're just here to help facilitate the meeting and the discussions. Obviously, it's your discretion if you want to accept these questions or tweak them or add new questions. You also have some questions submitted by Mr. Mosier to consider, and I'm also going to we'll also address his concerns about how do we select the 500 residents that'll be surveyed. You know, making sure that they're not renters. We want to make sure that they're property owners. So we'll also discuss that. So with that, I'll turn it over to Elizabeth, and then we'll open up for discussion.
Thank you, Mr. President and fellow board members. As Scott mentioned, we had solicited RFPs from qualified public opinion research firms. I sent it to 3 vendors, Kowalski being one, and we received 2 RFPs. One was not responded, and we selected Kowalski because they submitted a very clear and concise proposal. They have conducted the surveys for CMSD ratepayers in the past, and they also followed the methodology that was requested in the RFP. We awarded the contract for $34,000. We had budgeted $30,000, so it did exceed the budgeted amount by $4,000, but the other vendor also exceeded the bid as well. And I understand that Mr. Mosier has a set of questions, so I'd like to relay that over to Justin to.
Before you, Justin, I'm sorry, Elizabeth, you just said that we selected the firm we selected because they followed the methodology?
Yes.
Did the other one not follow?
They proposed a hybrid methodology using internet respondents. We weren't comfortable with that, especially since we specifically indicated that we wanted it to be telephone surveys. And it had to be between 20 minutes and had to be 500 respondents. So based on that grading system, we didn't receive the maximum points for that because we didn't follow the RFP.
Thank you.
Mike.
Sorry, Justin. Yeah, Jimmy, go ahead.
The 500 person, that was our universe that we were going to use. That was half of what we had before during the last survey, right? It was 1,000.
Yes, we had 1,000 in 2012.
Why would it be around the same price if it's 500 less?
Justin?
The cost of polling have literally doubled over the past 5 years. There are workarounds to that, but none of them deliver accurate results. For example, you could achieve a lower cost by using an internet technology. It should always be a lower cost if you have a hybrid approach. And we recommend those in universities that are very, very small, 4,000 respondents, something like that, simply because they can't get a mass of folks for polling today. But in a universe like this, where you have critical mass, it's just simply good governance. Get results that are statistically valid. And to do that, you can only do that through phone surveys. 4 years ago, probably the typical cell phone complete ratio was about 30% in a district like this. Now we see regularly above 40% and well into 85% plus, depending on what happens in that particular thing. The reality is it just costs more. We want to get you the most accurate results that we possibly can.
Yeah, I'm finding that hard to swallow, personally.
It was actually over $40,000 when we did 1,000 surveys, so it was well over our budget amount that we budgeted. So the 500 was closer to what we budgeted, was 30,000.
I've got a question. Are you going to be surveying people with cell phones or landlines?
Both.
Both? And you have access? Because a lot of people don't answer their phone anymore, or they don't have their phone.
That's true.
It's absolutely right. It's well over a supermajority of people are cell phone mainly or primarily. So to conduct conduct a survey like this on landline only would be a problem.
Thank you.
Especially on Monday night.
Tonight would be a difficult day.
Tonight would be a not good night to do a survey.
Or Thursday, or Saturday, or Sunday.
SB is also, they're available for any schedule required, and they provided in the staff report, you'll see that they provided an example of their project schedule, which I think will appeal to the board.
It's come back with the results on November 2nd, so.
Is November 2nd a study session date? Or
No.
we're just picking that date?
It's a
Special meeting?
Special meeting.
Well, I won't be here. Do I have any clout?
I think you missed the last one too.
Well,
I think
I'm
we
I'm in
picked that-
Sacramento.
We picked that date, we knew you weren't gonna be here. We picked that date. You said that was.
We didn't pick it because you weren't.
No, she
You
said-
said it was okay.
No,
Yeah, you said
you
it's
said
okay.
the first. You said the first.
I remember you did say something about it was okay with,
I'm okay on the first. See, I have it here. It's right here.
I mean, it's one day earlier if we can, one wants November 1st.
What day of the week is that?
It's a Wednesday.
No. October 31st is Monday.
So this first, so.
November 1st at 9:30.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
what I
that's what-
have.
Yep.
That's what it was, whoever said the second.
I'd
He
say
did.
it's November 1st.
He did,
That's my
and I
fault.
said the
Here's
first.
another
I
meeting on the
won.
second.
What time's that meeting?
It's at 9:30.
9:30.
Okay, in the morning, okay. good.
Yeah,
That's
because see,
before.
then I was gonna
Yeah,
fly
that's
out
what I
after.
heard.
Okay.
Tuesday the 1st.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's when,
okay.
that's why when you said the second, I'm thinking.
Ah,
Sorry for the confusion, so.
that's why I was,
Right, so it's November 1st. You'll-
okay, I'm okay.
Does that mean we won't have the results until November 2nd?
No, I mean, if you
I'm
look,
only being
if you look at the
facetious.
project schedule,
Yeah.
they're willing to submit the report within the 13th.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So,
Okay,
November 1st is fine.
yeah. I know I didn't screw up, you did.
Okay,
So I think the appropriate,
scooting down.
Justin can go over how he selects, how the research firm will select the residents. That was one of the concerns Mr. Logan had.
Okay.
Bob, do you have a question?
I just wanted to say that the cost appears reasonable. If you have 500 phone calls at 20 minutes, it's like 10,000 minutes. $150 an hour. That's over 25,000 right there. So by the time you get somebody on the phone and you have all these work and then put your report together, I think 34,000 sounds like a reasonable number.
I just had one question. You're talking about landline, and I was thinking that, like with me, I have on my landline, we're not here, but could you leave a message? Now, do you leave a message at all to let them know that you're at least doing the survey, or and then move on, or do you just click?
We do not leave this.
Okay.
And if someone is unavailable at that time, we'll schedule another time if they're available. So we use a number of different ways of trying to reach you at a time that works for you. Usually most folks are attempted to reach as maybe 8 or 9 times. in that neighborhood.
Some people, like me, just leave that message on. But if I hear that, then at least I know, and a lot of people are like that.
Yeah.
But just curious.
So the response we got from that RFP was just two entities.
We had
companies.
3, but one didn't
We
fall.
selected, we notified 3 as required by our code. We notified 3 and only 2 responded.
Justin, it's all yours, bud.
Great, thank you for having me here. It's obviously a pleasure to be here again and working with you again. Before I get started into the content, I do want to address the question of how we select people who respond, how that universe is constructed, what it looks like. There are 2 routes we can go through. The first is to strictly confine our universe to those who are ratepayers, in which case districts often will provide a list that we can work from. The other way, which we did in 2012, which has advantages to it, is to survey voters. Now, in Orange County, and largely throughout California, but certainly in Orange County, the voter list matches residents who are eligible to vote by about 85–90%. So it's a remarkably accurate list. What that does is it gets us a mixture of those who are ratepayers and service users, which are both folks that are meaningful to you guys. And we can identify which part they belong to. And we do that early on, and we ask a qualifying question. The question we asked in 2012, and we certainly are not constricted to this, we can modify it, is do they own a home? What kind of home do they own? Is it a condo, a townhome with more than 5 units? That allows us to determine what kind of trash service they use, that sort of thing. And then we cross-step those results, and we deliver our results back to you. Okay, everybody said this, but people who actually pay the bill said this. They felt a little bit differently, or they did feel differently. People who are using trash in a particular, when maybe it's a multi-unit building, they felt this way, and allows us to target questions as well. Some people, a question may be totally irrelevant, so there's no need to ask them that question. Generally, that's the approach that we recommend taking, and in this environment, that's where we make that recommendation. If you choose not to do that, we can certainly confine it strictly to ratepayers. But certainly would hope that you consider it. It will give a more robust perspective of how people feel about your service.
Yeah, I mean, if we're using just ratepayers, you could call someone that lives in Montana
Or New Zealand.
or anywhere that owns that property. I hadn't really thought about it in those terms, but I think the fact that people using it is who we want to talk about. Even though I'm a tenant, I'm using the trash. I mean,
Right.
60% of the citizens, or people here are renters. Because of
Yeah,
this.
yeah.
We get it
The
through
only
voter
city in
file.
Orange County is like that.
We are afforded the use of one of the most powerful tools in America. I used to do global marketing and technology, and I could not use this information. I'm legally barred from it at that time, so we used what was nascent big data, which is essentially a workaround. I know, using this voter file, which is born from your registration, you register to vote, your name, your age, where you were born, your gender, and I also know that it's not relevant to this, I also know when you voted. So were we to be tasked with determining, for example, if we needed to find out how people feel about LGBT, we thought that that's part of this, but if we needed to, I would develop a likely voter turnout model within that and ask people how they felt, and I would know very, very accurately where that is potentially going to fall out come November. So it gives us tools that are just remarkable. We don't have to ask, are you likely to vote? I know, and I know within 1 or 2% demographically, not just aggregate, but I know in this particular district, you're going to have X number of men that show up, X number of women, and we're very, very good at that. Because it's behaviorally based, when you don't have to ask someone a question. And you guys say how that works. If you ask my wife, who's infinitely brighter than I am and more accomplished, if she's going to vote, she will say yes.
are you going to have her listen to the tape of this meeting later? Is that
Well,
right?
not to the next part, because she's flat out lying. She's not going to vote. It's just because the intentions are that she will.
Do we have access to that file for phone numbers?
You do not have access to that file for phone numbers. All of the information that we will collect will be completely anonymous. However, we provide the results by demographics, so you will know, and we will present results in this way, all those different demographic indications, whether it's gender, age, group, all those things, you'll know if different people respond differently or have a different perspective.
Sometimes we try to notify residents and we don't have it.
So that's one of the
We have it. Milani just bought it
Oh, you do?
from the voters. We have it all. We can tell you if they're Democratic and what their phone number is.
It's a great tool, isn't
Yeah,
it? It's
phenomenal.
unbelievable.
And it was how much? 1995?
No.
As seen on TV.
It was $80.
Got a free
Oh,
night.
really?
And it's remarkable that you can get cell phones. And if I may mention, one thing that is incredibly useful for communications is 50% of new registrants provide their email address.
Yeah, I'm sure they do.
That aspect is becoming more and more robust.
Well, you have much more privacy when you provide your email address, right?
You do, and you can buy the list, but if I'm selling toothpaste or computers, I cannot. So they're shielded from that kind of marketing. If it's a public policy item, it's a matter of importance to people's lives and in the world of public policy in our world, then you have access. But if you misuse it, you go to jail. So, so don't sell them TV.
Cake bubble lights.
So if you don't have any more questions for Justin, do you want to go over the questions, what we prepared, and also, like I said, Mr. Mosher has some questions we can discuss, and
I'll ask what's the pleasure of my fellow board
Who
members?
prepared these?
a staff prepared them.
I had some questions too.
Great. Go fire away. You're up.
Okay. One was, now you can put this in any kind of order. I'm just saying over the top. Do you use the organic can? I was just curious on that. If so, what are your comments? Number 2, do you have scavengers in your area? Number 3, are you aware we have an enforcement officer? 4, do you know the rules on keeping trash cans out of sight, and do you abide by them? 5, do you have a list of trash day holidays? 6, do you have the sanitary district phone number? C, and then also for the trash company too. Are you aware you can pick up our organic pails to use at the office? 8, are you aware the Costa Mesa Sand District is debt-free? And 9, do you read our newspaper that comes to you? And you can say periodically or however you need to put it. And the last one, 10, are you aware of our new headquarters? That's it.
Those are some good questions.
A couple of those are.
Yeah,
They're
I think
included
couple
already.
those
A lot of those are included
partially
already.
addressed.
Yeah, yeah. So, but I mean, I didn't know what this was, truthfully. I didn't get this copy.
Yeah.
So I
You-
just
you
made
did.
it up.
I think staff hit just about every one of the one that I don't remember seeing in the questions was about the code enforcement officer.
Nobody does that on
Kill that cat. Is the one about debt-free in here too?
Probably not.
I think so. Oh, the question is pay-as-you-go. It's addressed in some form, I thought.
Justin, you're the expert on that. The questions that people respond to, I don't know how to say this. Do they respond to the feel-good questions more than they respond to the controversial type questions?
Well, they will respond to both of them because we're not asking them moral questions, which put people off.
Exactly,
Right?
exactly.
So, but we can ask them pointed questions about, for example, tertiary sewer water and are you going to drink that? Things that can, in the
Yeah.
past, have made people's skin kind of crawl a little
Yeah,
bit.
yeah.
But people respond to that. They may not have a formed opinion about it. We may have a larger unsure response, but there's no problem asking them. We're not going to get a high refuse for that sort of thing. We're okay in that space.
So if you were to ask a question like, how do you feel about Measure TT and the consolidation of the two agencies? If someone goes, what are you talking about? Your surveyor doesn't go to any depth to explain what Measure TT is, right?
No, generally the way, if we were to address that question, we would ask the ballot label itself, because that's usually how most people, that's how they're first introduced to it. The
Right.
reality is it's a low-informed issue, and to the extent that people get that far down the ballot, first time they're seeing it is that label, and they'll make a decision based on that label. So we try to replicate that exactly how it occurs. So we'll ask that label. Sometimes there's an appetite to find out, for example, if there's a funded support group and or opposition group, then we can ask basically a shortened version of the argument for and an argument against, and then ask again, see how people feel about it afterwards.
Okay.
So we can do it very concise and just find out what the ballot label, or we can do a more detailed deep dive.
Okay. I think one of the comments I'd make to staff is that we had budgeted this last year, right? And our focus was really to talk about the organics program. I mean, that's what we really wanted to find out. A level of service and rates, and those things are always kind of standard survey questions you'd ask anyway. But, again, we thought we wanted this to be focused on the organics program to a certain degree. Now we have this as we were talking this morning, this elephant has come into the room that says, you know, here's a new issue. I think one of the things we have to be careful of is that the survey doesn't campaign
Advocate.
or advocate, thank you, Bob, advocate for our side on the Measure TT. Getting an opinion on what folks think, I think, is okay, but I really think, Scott, that the survey needs to stay on focus with that organics issue, like we had originally started. That's just my thought.
Well, we do ask a lot of questions about organic.
Yeah, I know.
I think the last survey was just focused on solid waste, and so this time we thought, well, let's be all inclusive this
Okay,
time.
okay.
So we do have a lot of questions in here that were asked in 2012, so you can kind of engage the difference on what they're saying. But we also thought it was important to be more inclusive now to ask about the wastewater programs, you know, ask about our administration, and when people come to the office, are they getting good service? It's really, and there's one question in there that I know was a big controversy we had in 2012. The question is, do you want to go out the bid on trash, or do you want to negotiate a
Yeah.
contract?
Saw that.
You know, so that was a big contentious issue in 2012, and we decided not to put that in. It's in here now.
Yeah.
So, you know, you let me know if you want to continue or keep it out.
Well, there was one question about replacing 21.
Yeah, I need to talk about that.
I mean, that one kind of jogged me a little bit, so I'm glad we included that, actually, because I think that's where that's where we're going with a lot of this stuff.
I think 23 is more important than 21. We're going to spend a lot of money on rehab and then some money on replacing, but it's not sewer pipes, it's sewer infrastructure
No.
for the most part.
We talked about using the word infrastructure, that a lot of people, it doesn't have a residence with them, you know, it's streets, poles, they don't kind of, but when you say pipe,
You know what it is.
we all identify, so that was,
I think it's
was-
simple.
Well, the
Yeah.
majority of the infrastructure to be replaced will be pump stations and not pipes.
But most residents don't know what pump stations, or they don't know we have pump stations. So if you say pipes, they get it. You know, you want to keep it as simple as possible.
Well, that is too important a misleading question to be above 22. 23 is where our focus is, and so 21 and 23 need to be reversed.
How many questions are we going to try to end up with?
Well, I guess it's a big question to ask, Justin. The goal was 20 minutes, right?
20 minutes.
So how many questions do you need, Justin, to hit the 20-minute mark?
Let's see, it's around 35.
Yeah.
And what we would do is usually we
Here's
come back,
37.
we take this and we modify it a little bit and certainly some comments from this. We come back with a new script. Usually it's longer than the budget, and then we prioritize a little bit, cut down. So there's no problem to put something in, for example, like whatever it might be, we can put it in there as a placeholder. If you can have a question, you can look at it, and then in context, you can decide if you really want to keep it or not. And then I would suggest, when I rate these questions, usually I'd have a very simple description prior to this, and I'll come up with that, but describes things like this is what it consists of X miles of pipes, and X number of pumps that we think about. And it's in layman's terms, people will get it, they'll understand it, and that should address the concern about
I had two questions.
Shoot.
And then I have a question for this. So I had one on the organics program. The organics program requires each resident to somehow keep food from smelling for a week, then keep the container clean. This advanced program allows the district to recycle 85%, way ahead of other agencies. We are adjusting early to upcoming state laws. Because of the extra trouble you are going through to recycle food, is there anything we can do to help? Do you disagree with this approach or agree? And my second question was, Mesa Water District wants to take millions of dollars of savings that is reserved for sewer improvements and give you $650 each. Do you think it is wise to give away money for future sewer improvements just because Mesa Water says it's a good idea.
Well, you don't, I don't even wanna dignify that
No,
at 650.
no, I don't
Is
even
it
wanna.
totally inaccurate to
No.
begin with?
No.
May I suggest?
Yeah,
that
we
if
don't
I
want the
could get
attention there.
That, I'll put together a question that's kind of it often is helpful that even when things are not accurate, to test how they penetrate. Because these conversations are going on, whether they're accurate or not. And generally what we'll do is we'll put a, you know, Smith and Jones are talking to each other. Smith says this, Jones says this, who do you agree with? And that'll just tell you which way gravity is naturally falling.
The question I had is, are we able to even put the trash contract out to bid, considering that we just expanded to an organics program? If it went out to bid, would the organics go out to bid? Or just the pickup and recycling?
Or correct me if I'm wrong, but if we invoke an evergreen, tell them we're gonna go the whole program.
No, it'll be for 6 years, so yeah, it's the whole thing.
It's
Yeah.
the whole
Be a 6-year
program.
notification.
So it would be the organics also?
Sure.
Yeah, it would.
And then Rob, why would you use 85% and
I
not 75?
kind of threw that in there, it might even be higher.
I mean, that's our range, our goal is 100%, but
Right.
realistically, we have to get, huh?
That goes to
90,
90%.
okay.
Then maybe it should be 90%, I just threw a number out there.
Because our goal right
But
now
the
is
state-
75%.
Yes, the state's mandating 75%.
States may, but we have a goal ourselves to hit 90 one
Yeah.
day. And then you can always revise that, but that's a
So-
goal. Great.
There's the other.
All right, so those questions, I mean, again, those are gonna go to Justin for, which looks like they already have them. So, okay, great. Okay.
I had, question 3, 4, and 5, they're all talking about this smartphone app. Do we have to have all 3 questions, or can we reduce that to like 1? You know,
That's what I think.
You know, because a lot of people
No,
don't have our smartphone app.
no.
Really?
I mean, what percentage do you think have it? How many people have that app? Scott, I mean,
We get a lot. I don't know the percentage, but we get it's pretty active.
is it?
But what this question will tell us is that maybe more people need to know about it. Maybe if I don't never heard of it, then we need to do a better job getting the word out. That was really the whole intent of those questions.
I think the majority of people have it, I have it just because it's a pretty little picture. But I think
I don't know if I have
most people use it
I've got it.
when they have a problem, right?
Yes.
Yes, that's
If
the
my
whole purpose of it.
My trash
I
didn't
use
get
it when
picked
I have
up.
a comment.
Or there's trash.
Nobody listens to your comment.
Yeah.
They do.
Yeah, I'd say like 95% of it's related to trash cans in public view.
Okay.
I suggest that we have a question on the trash rate stabilization program. And I think it's upwards of $3 million, and it ties into the organics program, and it'll be used to stabilize rates. So the program we'll end up having to raise rates 4 or 5 years from now, or 3, 4, 5 years from now, because we have that money. And a spinoff on that, I don't know if it's a question, but do the citizens know how we accumulated that rate stabilization fund, which was basically because they increased their recycling and decreased the tonnage of trash that we collected during the recession, basically. So staff estimated it was continuing to go up. The citizens recycled, and so we have this fund, and basically we're giving it back to them by 2 rate decreases and extending out when we have to increase the rates again. Basically, it's stabilizing the organics program.
Do you really think that we did a good job of educating them as to the fact that we did use that money to, and are continuing to use that money
Yeah.
to reduce?
Well,
You think
that'll
we've
be
done
the-
a good job?
Yeah,
I don't
that'll
think
be the
we have.
question.
Yeah,
I don't think
Well, I
we
mean,
even know
it'll
about it.
educate 500 people,
I think it's
potentially.
all a matter of what have you done for me lately?
Of course, that's what government's all about.
And you remember that, because you did survey them at the time, right, to say, what do you want to do with your reserves? you wanna implement this program?
Yeah.
or how
That's
far
why we
are
implement, yeah, the 2012 results survey is why we implement the organics program. The resident says, yeah, they're willing to pay a little bit more and they want to divert 75%. That's why we did the
And
program.
they're not having to pay any more yet. They're actually getting a rebate,
I
a 10%
understand.
rebate.
But like you said, they will eventually get paid more. It will cost more, but and the residents told us they're okay with that.
And everybody will pay that in 2020.
Well,
I
so-
personally like the question.
We could add a question about rate stabilization program. I don't know how to, maybe Jeff can help us write it. I don't know how to write.
Yeah, no, and all I
want
need
to
is
go down?
a
You said
the right
yes.
questions. This is wonderful, and thank you.
I want to see if they come back with.
Well, so we can eliminate some of these.
Okay.
They will come back for approval.
Any question?
No, I was just gonna open up for public comment. So we're gonna take all these questions and come back with a final survey before we go forward.
I don't think we have time for that. If you want to come back by November 1st, we gotta, that's what, the idea was to get your input. Like I said, like Justin says, he just needs ideas, he can write the questions out, and we need to get it out there so we can get the results by the first.
Well, Art was asking if we should go question by question down this list.
Sure.
Say yes, just yes or no, or,
Yeah.
and then delete, and then the ones that we're talking about, we could add.
Yeah.
That's just my idea.
Okay, let me open it up for public comment, then we'll come back and do that, is that all right?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, Mr. Mosier, you had indicated.
Thank you again, President Schaefer. My name again is Jim Mosier. Regarding the November 1st deadline, it seems to be tied into the November 8th election in some way. If that's the purpose, the board should be aware a large number of voters will have voted before November 1st.
They go out on October 10th.
About half of
Second comment, I am quite familiar from the election of 2014 with the voter list. If that's the basis of your survey, number one, you should understand that it's a compilation of information on the voter registration forms, and supplying a telephone number and email is optional, and phone numbers are available only for a small number of them, even though emails are perhaps more common now. And not every address that the district serves is going to be represented in the voter list. So there is a possibility of an alternative strategy. You might want to start with addresses, a sampling of addresses, and then ask, do you have contact information in the voter list, or could you find contact information in some other way? There are ways on the internet you can look up addresses and get phone numbers. So it's something to think about. And then there are people, and that would include things like you have commercial tenants who are served by the sewer system, who certainly would not be represented in the voter list at all. And if you're interested in feedback from them, you may have a problem contacting them. The overall concern, I think I mentioned in one of your earlier meetings, and I'm sure Justin is well aware of this, there's always a problem. You're going to present these to the public and hope that the public will give credibility to the results you have. You want to make sure that you're actually conducting a survey, trying to get objective, unbiased information, and not conducting a push poll where you're leading people towards the answer that you want to receive. Because that will be perceived by the public looking at the questions you asked and saying, as Mesa Water was doing with the ballot question, you're considerably biasing what you want. So I would think in each section, that the questions I saw here were rather detailed, and I would think each section before even the telephone person lays out the background for it, you just ask some quite general, open-ended question about the person's satisfaction before you've tried to lead them in any direction. Like, for instance, trash service. Do you think it's good, bad, or indifferent? And do you have any ideas for what you'd like to see improved? And then go into the more detailed questions that I think would be helpful to you. And then finally, as Justin pointed out, although it looks very linear here, like there's a set of questions you go through, in practice, I believe I understood from him, it's going to be more like a branching tree. And some respondents will be off in one path of questions they're answering, some will be in a slightly different one. And I hope your consultant understands how bifurcated this district is. And you have not only people who are actual ratepayers paying the property tax bill, but there are people who are receiving the services, but not the person paying for them. And at each address, there's a different menu of services that they're receiving. So some respondents will be receiving only trash service. Some will be receiving only sewer service. Some will be receiving both. And some of them may have a very dim idea of which they're getting. And so that I don't quite know how you're going to work that out and be sure that they know. I think the trash service still know whether they're receiving sewer service or not. I think they may not know. And how much they're paying for it, they may not know. So that was one of the questions I suggested. And as a result of all of that, I really have to question the statistical reliability of the results you're getting. If you're asking a question that everybody has thought about, like are you voting for Trump or Clinton, and you ask 500 people, you're going to get a statistically reliable result because everybody has thought about that question. If you ask, have they ever heard of the Costa Mesa Sanitary District or not, you're going to get a yes, no answer, and that's going to be reliable. But as you go through this tree and you get to questions about consolidation that people may have not thought about, some of the other detailed questions that are in here, that only some portion of the people have even a valid reason to be responding to it, and of that small portion, only a few of them have ever thought about it even before they heard what's on the telephone. You're going to be getting a small number of uninformed responses about many of those, and I don't know that the reliability of that is going to be all that great. So those are my comments.
Yeah, I kind of just tag one quick thing. I kind of agree that question number 7 to me is almost the first question we should ask. And then you go in, but again, I'm not the expert, you are, so.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with asking it first. Generally, we have one question we always start with, but it's irrelevant for the purposes of this conversation. It just gets participation. It's an open-ended question. What I prefer to do is have the question, do you know who provides these services? An open-ended question, one of your points. And that gives a great idea of just how many people, and again, we cross that based on their resident status. We are Brand County, It's a great perspective of what people actually know. And it may be small. How many people know who provides these different services to the branch?
Well, most people in Costa Mesa are going to go. The city does that.
And if I recall from the last results, there was a significant chunk of people in that. There are a couple things about methodology and statistical significance which are important to address because there are some perceptions there that are commonly held and are not accurate. One is that the proportion of people who provide cell phones as their own phones or any phone contact is very low. It's actually incorrect. There is a 30% drop-off usually in most areas, so about 30% of folks won't have contact information. But that leaves a significant chunk who do. And that is much higher than most other available databases for just about any population. Moreover, the folks who actually create and care for these samples append them with commercially available information. So it's a much more robust file than when it comes right out of the registrar of voters. So the file actually is really quite robust, and it's better than any other data source that's available to us globally, not just here in America, not just in California. There's a term called push poll, and it's often used. Push polls don't exist in research. They exist in marketing, but only within a very small group of people. You're not going to get it's a topic that's discussed with credibility at your local MBA institution. It does exist, but generally with a small group of people, and it's easily identifiable. You don't call 500 people for a push poll, you call 60,000 people. Because you don't inform people with an instrument like this. You may talk to 500 people, but it's such a small number of people that you're not informing the community. The second is that there was a separation of your sample size. Let's say you ask 500 people a question, and only a certain amount of people respond to it. The assumption was made that only that certain amount of people you would only calculate the MOE, the margin of error, based on that certain amount of people. And that's just wrong. That's not really how it works. You calculate it based on sample size.
I just thought of this. On number 7, if there's a way, and if you don't want to do this, fine, but it just dawned on me, great opportunity to explain to the public that Costa Mesa Sanitary District is independent from the city. In other words, you could start out the Costa Mesa Sanitary District, who is independent from the city, and then continue on, or how you want to put it, is responsible for residential trash and sewer, blah, blah, blah.
That's very good. We get people who just call us the city.
I know.
No matter
I get it
what.
all the time. Your city,
Right.
and out with your trash, and I'm going, no.
Or just something in question 7, I mean,
But, if you want to put it anywhere,
and
it's
not
just an
in-
opportunity.
He's gonna take
It's
the
in
questions
10.
verbatim. I think Justin's going to, he just wants the broad idea, and then he's going to provide us with a
Yeah.
set of questions. I don't think he's gonna take the questions verbatim, so if you would
No.
like for him to include that, the
Yeah.
Costa Mesa Sanitary District, an independent special district,
Yeah,
provides,
There's a difference between dependent,
yeah,
special district, and independent.
yeah,
well, Arlene, question 10, if you look at question 10,
okay.
You're exactly right. Question 10 addresses this, and we can even ask if you know, but I think the benefit of separating out those two items rather than leaving in the initial item is we find out, is that something meaningful to people? And if it's meaningful, and a large, or it should be meaningful, if it has consequence to their lives and they're unaware of it, then it would be something that the organization may consider as being a useful thing to communicate and educate in the future. If you have 5% who say it's important to them, and the reality is it does have consequence to them, that might be something to take under consideration and a message to the community.
Well, in my opinion, 10 still doesn't cover it if you don't put from the city. In other words,
All right.
somehow you got to get down to layman terms where
That's a great point, because the minute we have Costa Mesa in
it
our
isn't,
name,
yeah, independent, they don't understand that. But if you say the Costa Mesa Sanitary District is an independent special district from the city,
Yeah, that's a great point.
then,
That
yeah,
clarifies it.
then I'm fine.
Okay, most of these questions are pretty good.
Do you want to go one just down the list?
Most of them are
no, I
pretty
think
good.
most of them hit, the only thing that I would like you guys to consider is there's a lot of questions dealing with social media.
And 15 is also.
Well, I mean, there's several places where do you go to the website? Do you what social media do you use? If that's important, I mean, we need for our planning for our programs, but I think I'd like to see some of those condensed down into 1 or 2 questions, maybe.
And we can. We actually have a series of questions that
Okay.
we can take a few of these.
But I agree with Art. I think overall you guys
It's pretty good.
hit a lot of what our concerns are.
Mm-hmm.
I think Bob had a concern of what, question 21, Bob, or you already explained that question, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think 23 is more important than 21.
Maybe combining those two into a
And some of these will be in sequence, some will be rotated, just so we
Okay,
don't
that's
have
good.
your question order bias.
That's a
things
good
like that.
idea, I
So
think,
it's-
yeah.
Yeah, we're not gonna tell them something that informs the next question, these things get rotated for.
I thought I'd read something in there about being part of the city. Was there a question on that? Okay.
I don't think so. That's
Absolutely, most of the questions are pretty good.
Back to what Arlene said earlier too, I don't remember seeing a question in here, anything to do with scavenging, but basically something about, are you aware that the people who come around and take stuff out of your trash cans, it's illegal? I mean, you know what I mean, Scott? It's that question formulated around people being aware, because, I have neighbors that leave their newspapers and leave stuff on the curb because they know the guy in the little white Toyota van is going to be around on Wednesday night. So I think just some awareness. It's more of an awareness issue than it is a question to people, except that you want to, obviously, did you know that it was illegal to steal things out of your neighbor's trash can?
well, people don't even know that there's a code enforcement.
Well,
officer.
I think the fact that they need to know that it's not legal.
Oh, yeah, yeah. But that we
Well,
have,
the two could be combined.
Yeah.
yeah.
Does a resident have direct access to your office through one of the apps or anything?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I think you
Do they?
They submit a complaint, and then it depends on what category that complaint is. For example, if it's trash view or trash in public view, that all those complaints would go directly to Ed.
What about 37? I'm not sure.
I've got a question on
Go ahead.
one of Jim Mosier's concerns, and that was, do you think 5 citizens representatives overseeing 15 employees is too many? Well, number one, I think we have more than 15 employees, don't we? We got 20. And number two, I think by law, I don't think you can have I think it's dictated the number of directors you have. It can either be 5 or 7. It can't be 3 or.
No.
So I think that's state law, Jim, if I'm not mistaken.
Probably.
He's gotta look it up.
And if you're gonna use number 9, I'd like to have written in there the 221.
Well, not all of these are going to be included.
I know.
37, I think, needs some rewording.
It's that last one.
It's almost leading. It's a good question. I mean, I want people to tell us. We know how a lot of people think, but we want people to let us know, what we should be doing. But the last part of it, or do you prefer lowering your rate? Hell yes, I prefer lowering my rate. Heck yes, I prefer lowering my rate. So some restructuring of that question a little bit, maybe.
Yeah, I would agree.
And what we're looking for, Justin, is, do they rather have us go up to bid or negotiate?
Yeah.
Are there alternatives to the anaerobic digestion that if we put the whole thing out to bid, how would somebody bid the organics program?
Possibly composting, but
Yeah.
they're not going to be able to put any more composting facilities in Orange County. It's just harder than heck to get those things approved.
I think the best indicator of that is what the city of LA, not just us, but the city of LA realized that composting wasn't going to work, and putting it on a train and sending it to Bakersfield wasn't going to work, and so that's why the city of LA jumped on the AD program.
But every trash vendor is gonna have to face how they do this.
Yeah, and nobody else has yet.
By 2020.
Yeah.
Yeah, coming up pretty quick.
So, do we have direction?
Well, I still have a couple more choices. I guess so do you want us to include any questions Mr. Mosier put in here? I wasn't clear if you accepted these or not.
No, I don't think we're accepting them all, no.
But which ones are you accepting? I just think we need to know which ones you're accepting.
Personally, I think the questions you guys put together as staff take care of what we need to know.
Yeah.
All right, so none of these questions from Mr. Mosier.
I mean, there's some concepts that we've included that are already there, so yeah, I don't see a need to use any of the questions.
And then the second direction, do you want something more specific on Measure TT on here? I know Rob his question that you kind of alluded to the fact of Measure TT, but do you want something specific, like Justin mentioned earlier, how do you feel about Measure TT, something simple like that? Do you want something on there?
I think it's important.
I don't mind having, I don't mind knowing what's out there. I mean,
It's not advocating, it's just a question. Is it a valid test? What do you think?
yeah,
It's straightforward as the day long.
I don't think we can get in trouble that way.
Okay, so you just a Measure TT, I don't, just format something like a Measure TT, okay.
You guys,
I'd like to look at it. Let's see if it's worth it.
Yeah. Maybe somehow it can be combined with the 32. Any suggestions on how to improve on the program?
No, I don't think we'd want to say that.
Hmm?
I don't think we'd want to add that to it.
if you're asking people for, how would you like to improve the program? Do you believe in Measure? They're gonna.
Yeah,
No,
that's
no.
kind
It's a
of-
leading.
It's kind of leading them towards
No,
it.
no,
Pre-drawn.
I'm sorry, I meant in place of 32, of any suggestions on how to improve the program. Instead of that, something kind of massaged on
I think they were
TT.
talking, that was about organic, so I think the question
Yeah.
was regarding
The
organics.
organics it is what it is.
Yeah, but we don't need it. Any suggestion?
Yeah,
to
but
improve
she's
the
saying
program?
to take it out. 'Cause
Yeah,
She's saying to take that question out.
Yeah,
I
I'd
mean,
agree.
Yeah.
we worked hard on that program.
What
And
number was it?
32, I don't think
32.
we need 32.
I was
That's what
just
Arlene's
saying.
saying. Because that's, we're
I
talking
mean,
about
I don't
organic.
think
Yeah,
that's
you-
necessary.
You're
either.
just gonna get off the wall
Yeah.
comments.
We'll put together some kind of question.
Because 33 almost takes care of it, going how do you satisfied are you
Yeah,
with
yeah,
organics?
yeah,
and
see,
so
that's
forth.
good. I mean, that's a good
Mr.
question.
President, if I can ask one more question, Joe. So what's your vision to start the service when you take over?
We would have an updated draft to you midweek, and on your approval, we could either start as early as this weekend or next weekend. Either easily gets us within the time frame we could even do.
So, thank you. The reason I was asking, do you want to see the final question, that we can do it in a special meeting, if you want to see it one last time, or are you comfortable with Justin and just go with
I
it?
don't think we have the luxury to.
Yeah, I mean,
People
based
around.
on what we did a couple of years ago and based on these questions, I'm comfortable with you guys going forward with this. With you?
He can send you a copy.
Okay.
Maybe my suggestion was send Mike a copy instead of us having a meeting, because you
Yeah.
can't send all the information out. You can send it to
The
the,
board should know what the questions are.
yeah,
Because you may be asked by
that's true.
So
somebody.
why can we get the same copy
Yeah.
here?
I don't know if we can legally do that. Can we? We might be able to.
Yeah, I can do that.
Can we legally all get the same copy?
Yeah, I'll do my
Attach
weekly
it
update.
to your
I'll
weekly
do-
update.
I'll do
Yeah.
my
That's
weekly
not
update.
Yeah.
till Friday though. He wants to get,
Well, they won't have it till midweek.
I just thought it was this week though.
No.
They're gonna start serving this weekend.
Yeah, that's, it's this
Oh.
week.
Well, but
Wow.
he said if they started the following weekend, they could still get it in. So maybe they need to wait till the following weekend.
As soon as he, I can tell you, as soon as he gets it to me, I'll get it to you.
Okay.
Okay. For comments or
What's that?
Do
deletions.
a Wednesday
Yeah,
update.
I'll get it to
Huh?
you.
Do a Wednesday update instead of a Friday update.
Yeah.
I think our service sooner the better.
Study sessions on October 4th, if we need to take it forward for discussion,
Well, don't we have our,
That's
he wouldn't have it by tomorrow, right?
No, he's thinking about
We wanted
Wednesday.
to
Okay,
start
because
next
I know
weekend
we have
for
an
phone calls,
agenda meeting on our tour.
Well,
I mean, that's, we could, if,
I think Nolani makes a great point. We're gonna have a study session next Tuesday.
Mm-hmm.
And Justin's saying that starting the following weekend still gives you plenty of time to, maybe we ought to look at it next
well, maybe
Tuesday?
they could
Next
send it to
Tuesday.
us and then we could look at it and talk about it.
We
Is
can
that
have
timing
a-
okay?
Does that still work, Justin?
From my perspective, it works.
Yeah, because we
Okay, so we'll
put
put it
out
on
a
the October
notice.
4th agenda for your discussion.
Yeah, but you could send it to us prior to that to look at it.
Well, yeah, it'll be part of the agenda package, so you'll get it on that Friday.
On Friday?
Okay.
Yeah.
And what time do we do that?
On the
9:30?
4th at 9:30.
You're not gone, are you?
No, ISDOC is before that.
Mr.
That's what I was
Mosier,
trying to
did you know
figure
we
out.
changed a couple of our meeting dates?
I looked at the action
Okay,
and saw
okay,
that.
okay. I just want to make sure.
They were out there.
I know.
Or aware of when the meetings are tonight.
Anything else?
We know that.
People at home, sitting
Sorry?
on the couch, Thanksgiving's right.
When everyone's
They're all-
asleep.
Yeah, they're all on the couch, they won't move.
Utilizing the fog.
They may not answer the phone.
May
though.
not answer the phone. Crypto.
Okay.
Just incidentally, Mr. Mosher made a comment first time up about board docs.
Yeah.
I like board docs, just personally. You guys,
Yeah, it's really working out.
it's so easy to navigate and like Mr. Mosher said, the stuff's there.
And if I can do
Okay,
it,
when you say, can you add board docs and then exactly what it is? I mean, next to it, study session agenda.
Yes.
Because it just usually says board docs.
But it gives the date.
it's so weird
I
when
know, but I'm
paperwork.
just
Oh, I
saying,
know what
and
you're saying.
because,
wow, now to
When you receive
stuff,
the
I
email
just press a
notification?
button
Yeah.
on.
Yeah, I would get
and then
it.
did you guys get a chance to change the font size?
We can talk about that after this.
Okay.
With the board docs, why do we have a password and username?
Your username and password are specific to you so that you're able to go in and make your annotations on
Oh.
any of the items.
Okay,
And then you'll be able to pull
So-
that up for comments.
got it.
Do you forget it?
Forgetting your password or your
I have my
username?
password and username. Either that or I know who to
It's gonna,
talk to.
it's gonna take a while to get used to, but,
Stamped.
Yeah.
You guys are all doing a great
because
job.
I printed off all my stuff so I could read it like I was gonna do normally.
Oh, if I just make notes on a piece of paper, that's it.
You can do that too,
Yeah.
however you're comfortable.
Neat.
Okay, we're done.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Arlene?
Yes.
Can I get a copy of your question?
Sure, sure. Oh,
Did you want this? Did you want me to make a copy?
no, it's fine.
Can you have it?
Yeah, it's fine.